Hey everybody, welcome to the Standing Stone podcast. This episode is going to be an interesting one. Not that we have boring ones, but I feel as our average listener, this one's going to hit home a little bit harder than some of the others. This is a conversation with a good friend of mine, Robert Ellison, and we're going to be talking about the work dog training balance and on a high level. There's some folks that have testing goals, and we talk a lot about that. There's other people that just have hunting goals, but still struggle to find time to train dogs. We're going to go over a little bit of the history of how Robert got into dog training, but then also how he can make it all work and to an extremely high level. Thank you for joining me today.
Yep. Thanks for having me. It's been a good weekend out here getting ready for the Invitational with Charles. So I always on the road, it feels like at this time of the year. And it's a good place to be. A lot of resources, had a lot of fun. And we drank a little bourbon too.
That's not a bad thing at all. Now, Robert, talk to me a little bit about how you specifically got into bird dogs, because you have several. And I want to know, when did you get your first bird dog? Did you grow up with this?
No, I actually grew up with German Shepherds. So different type of working dog. Always was active with those dogs, but never any like formalized training. Now that I look back, I was probably like 10, German Shepherd pulling a 10-year-old boy. So definitely a different mentality then. But we've always had dogs in our lives.
So I had a very similar upbringing. I don't know. We had a dog. Her name was Claire. She was an American cocker and was fit every typical thing that you hear about American cockers. She bit us. She ran away. She didn't listen. But then when I look back at it, knowing even just the smallest amount that I learned getting into dog training, we did everything wrong. We had a dog and it was a dog, and we didn't do proper training stuff. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, actually, I would say looking back, one of them was probably a liability. I mean, this was a German Shepherd that probably should have went more of a military,
Sure.
Police route.
Pretty sharp.
So sharp. And with the family, having a little sister at the time, she could go up and pet that dog, no problem. If we were playing basketball and the basketball rolled over to where the German Shepherd was, none of my friends were allowed to go get that basketball.
Yeah.
So, one of our dogs was actually a police dog washout who was trained. We thought we had a great dog, but it's probably because it had a lot of training at that point. So
interesting. What did they give you info on why it washed out? Was it
too soft?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's probably the step in the right direction for y'all then.
Yeah. Yeah. And both my parents are lawyers. So my mom had a connection with the police force. We lived in the country, just her and I. So I think she, with the law she was doing, probably felt like, having an imposing dog as a single mom was probably a good thing, but he was so nice. No issues. And, we had 5-10 acres at the time. He'd go down fishing with me, follow me riding the bike. It's perfect growing up like that.
Absolutely. Well, when, fast forwarding a little bit here, when did you actually get into bird dogs?
Yeah. So, grew up in the Midwest, but 2015, I actually took a job down in Florida. Was there 2 years and came back. So I kind of knew I wanted to get into hunting. My grandpa grew up hunting. Pretty poor, like to feed the family type, like hunting,
Sure.
Like walking. He lived in Illinois, walking the railroads and shooting pheasants and, rabbit and deer and to feed the family. But I had a good friend at work that I was going back to work at the place I'd left. And buddy for years had always said, hey, you got to come out and hunt with me. I was like, oh, whatever. But in Florida, I got into shooting shotguns, collected like 3 or 4 shotguns in like a year, like every, young 30-year-old single guy does. Right. So I knew I was coming back, called him. He's like, yep. I think I got in on a Sunday and I was out the next week hunting with him. Now, little did I know, his family are big farmers. And this will probably, Illinois is not a great wild bird state, but they've maintained and owned a couple thousand acres that they haven't taken out hedgerows, right? They've kept tree lines. They've done this since they've grown up, so they kept it. First time we went out, 10-year-old English pointer is what he owned. We got into 3 or 4 coveys of quail. think we killed 4 or 5 roosters that day and probably 6 or 7 quail, which for Illinois, that is a hell of a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd been talking about or thinking about getting a dog, but from that day, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm getting a dog. I had about 8 weeks before I started work, started calling people. Well, I kind of knew or had spent some time and just wasn't looking for, what's in the newspaper, or what can I find? I knew what I wanted from a pedigree, or at least had a better understanding than probably your average person. Was going to be a year wait. Well, I had 8 weeks to kill. So if I wasn't out, every day was a free day for me. So
sure.
A buddy of mine, you've actually met him. He owns a Chief Quest puppy, Lucian.
Okay. Yeah.
He had a short hair. I was like, can he hunt? And he's like, well, of course he can hunt. No formalized training. So we go to the preserve, we think we put down 12 pheasant probably, or so, little did I know pheasant are probably the worst bird at a preserve because half of them are going to run. Right. So we go out there and he didn't find a bird. Found a wild covey of quail that my buddy flushed into my face. Well, there were some other guys that when we had pulled up, they had 3 or 4 dogs and we heard a lot of shooting. Right.
Yeah. So
we're like, let's go ask these guys. They obviously know what they're doing. They want to shoot some birds. We go over there. Hey, will you come help us? Dog doesn't have a lot of experience. Yeah, we'll come over. Well, they came over. We probably found 7 or 8 of the pheasant. Mm-hmm. Guys being guys, drinking at the tailgate. Well, what's your name? Yeah. They're like, well, we're going to... I talked about getting a dog, and they're like, well, we're going to a buddy's house. We're going to go have some beers there. And we're like, okay, we're going to go with you. Well, little did I know that person was Jay Wade, who from Pigeons, been out here.
Yeah.
Jay's passed 3 or 4 VCs, multiple Master Hunter field trial dogs. So go there. I tell him, he's like, hey, I actually know someone who has a pretty good litter on the ground, and they had someone back out.
Okay.
So he's like, I will recommend you. Call up the guy, talk to him, drive down, wasn't prepared to have a dog one bit, right? I think I pulled up in a sports car. I didn't have a truck, didn't have an SUV, and ended up with Lily.
Awesome.
So that's how it started. I think I picked up Lily Christmas Eve of 2016.
So Lily is not from Jay. It was some of his similar lines though, right?
Yeah, so Lily's dad is the brother to one of Jay's dogs. So there's definitely common lineage.
Sure.
And actually, that was one of Jay's VCs. So Lily's aunt is a VC. So similar lines. I think Jay did some work with the dog, out of what they were. But they didn't do a lot of... They did Master Hunt, AKC stuff.
Okay.
Lily's breeder, and he did NASTRA. Like Lily's dad's like a 7 or 8 time NASTRA champion and did bird dog challenge and all that stuff, but wasn't really a NAVHDA person by any means.
Got it. We have done a little bit of everything, but I've never actually played that NSTRA NASTRA game. And just as a quick side note for that, anybody that is looking, I don't know, does Jay's got stuff on social media? It's the Rude Beaver Kennels.
He's semi-retired.
Sure.
I think he might take a couple people. I probably bother him, but I mean, you probably talk to him a couple times a week now about pigeons. That's his thing now, right? Like he did well for himself, so I'm happy for him. But I see Jay every week because that's where I can train. Man,
I warn everybody. These pigeons, dogs are something, but when you get into pigeons, it's an addicting thing. It's hard to get excited about, especially when you come from let's take animals that are from a performance standpoint and take them to the next level type of thing. The pigeons just add a new game to that.
Yeah, and I'm in it too with you now. I don't have the space. I live in the city. I can't raise pigeons, but it is fun. It is interesting. It's almost like something new to learn.
Yeah.
That, as weird as it sounds, I think there's crossover to the dog world.
There's a lot. I mean, from the genetic standpoint, what we do with birds is primarily breeding. Now, granted, Jay, I know, is flying a young bird team. I may have some this year that I'm going to try and create another YouTube series showing just the training portion. I won't be able to fly the club because that's when I'm gone guiding is when the most of that happens. But at least show how to train them on a a better level than what I did maybe 7 or 8 years ago when I've got some videos up. So
one loft's the way to go.
It's fun.
The amount of work I know even Jay puts in, and I got to go 40 miles here, and we got to pick up the birds. He has a time.
Yeah,
I would never want to do what he does. It's only go right to the big leagues. Go right to one lofting.
I like it. So 2016, you got Lily.
Yep.
Where did where did things go from there? How did you get information? Did you work with Jay? Did you kind of watch some stuff on the internet?
So I guess two parts. So when I got Lily, I saw the pedigree and I started seeing titles.
Okay.
So I started doing research and I found, okay, what's this NAVHDA stuff? What's this MH? What's that mean? What's the NASTR thing mean?
Got it.
I actually live in the capital of Illinois. I live downtown.
Sure.
So a lot of the free runs as a puppy for Lily and bumper work and stuff was on the lawn of the state capitol. I mean, it was 2.5 blocks away. So that's where and that's where we did stuff. Cool. But I learned a lot because, you can imagine I lived on the second floor. So you got this 8-week-old puppy, stairs, things like that. There were extra challenges. There was no just open up the back door and say, at 2 a.m. So, you had to want it to do it right, or there would have been no more dogs. Right. So, So I started going out to Jay's, I'd be like, hey, I basically just asked, how can I help?
Sure.
Like, do you need extra hands? I kind of knew at the point, and kind of what I've done, grew up playing sports. I'm pretty competitive. So I was like, well, I'm not just going to, kind of dabble in this. I think I'm going to get pretty deep in this.
I understand.
So, sent Lily to Jay's. I was like, oh, well, she's got to run an NA test. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Now with what I'm doing, I had Jay ran Lily in her NA test.
Got it.
So, I think most people can do that, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's the natural ability test with NAVHDA is more about the puppy, but there's definitely some handler things that can help the puppy show in a better little light for the day.
Yep. So, continued, luckily had access. I think Lily would have been right at 1. I was able to unleash her on wild birds.
Yeah, that's awesome.
45 minutes away, and we were having good success.
So I have a question with that. In how you said 1, you started hunting, but how old was she when she ran her natural ability test? Was that
probably 10 months?
10 months. Okay.
Yeah, I would say 10 months, 11 months.
Got
it. So what the other thing I did starting then, I was like, okay, well, I need to learn how to handle this dog better. I actually used NASTR. That was what I used it for. Is I think that helped me become an infinitely better handler early on. Because, it's 2 runs a day, 2 days. So I could get 4 runs working with a dog, working, with a brace mate, how that interacts. I mean, honestly, improving my shooting, things like that. That's how I use NASTR. And then I was like, okay, next step is utility. I was like, I'd go help Jay, but he still ran her first utility test. I was just like, I don't want the dog to fail because of me.
Sure.
So, she, I think, got a prize. I think she has less than 2. I think she got a prize 3. And then I was like, I started to notice that she would handle better for me than Jay, just because there was this rapport. She went everywhere with me. Right.
Sure.
So, I was like, I need to own this, take ultimate ownership of this. And I'm going to make the time commitment where she will become a UT1, go to the Invitational. And we did that the next year.
Wow. Now, I know she is a VC
Master Hunter Advance.
Master Hunter Advance.
Which is for me, it was just fun.
Well, yeah, there's, for anybody that doesn't know, AKC has hunt tests, and they have a junior, senior, master as 3 different levels. And then they introduced another portion. Again, you need 4 passes, and then 4 passes, and then 5 passes. If you follow through each level of the game, you can skip levels, but if you don't have the previous title, you have to add 1 more pass. So generally speaking, we just run our dogs through masters. We have to get 6 passes. But once you complete that process, it's usually 1 spring, a handful of events you go to. Then what do you do with the dog? the advanced option came in where you can run them through the same test again with a higher level of standard. And to get a standard pass, you have to have an overall average in the scoring of a 7. And then in the Master Hunter Advanced, you have to have an overall average of an 8, I believe, with no scores below a 7 or something.
Yeah, it's an average. Effect. Yeah, I think the average bumps from 7 to 8, and your lowest score can be no lower than 7. Yeah. So you could have, 5 9s and a 6 and not get a Master Hunter Advanced pass,
correct.
And
but
still have a great run, right?
And still have a master pass, but it doesn't count toward the advanced title. Yep. So then they've just recently, which I need to do more, they've tried to adopt the Retriever Master Nationals, and they've applied that to the pointing world. I'm doing more research, and we have a lot of things on the plate, so I don't know how many dogs are going to go through. You'll probably do it before me, but
no, I don't. I think the first year they ran it was like one location. It was East Coast, maybe. Does that sound right? Like, I don't know. It's one location, right? Like an event like once a year. Is that how it's set up?
I believe so.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it. With 4 dogs work, I'm pretty content now doing what I'm doing.
I understand. Now, speaking of work specifically, I know that it's a very common thing for folks to say, I work a full-time job. We have kids, which I know you yourself don't have children, but you do have children in your life. And it's a difficult thing to balance. When do we make time for all of this stuff in life? And not only to train dogs, like we're talking for these puppy tests, which granted, I don't want to downplay it, but it doesn't take near as much as it does to do something like finish a master or prep a dog for utility, get a prize 1 score, and then end up at the Invitational. The amount of work that we're putting into the few dogs going to the Invitational and you yourself, it's a lot. How do you try and balance that? How do you make time for it? I mean, really, what does it come down to?
Long-term girlfriend's been very accommodating first, right? Like, there had to be a level of understanding there, or this probably wouldn't work, or we wouldn't work. So she's been great. And I would say being pretty intentional. Reality is I live in the center of the city.
Sure.
We moved now. We're kind of in the old historic area. I moved in with her. Luckily we have like an acre park, like 2 houses down.
Okay.
So I can do bumpers there. I can't blink. I don't have pigeons, things like that. So I would say I did, and just probably out of not boredom, but I felt this need to always do something every day, which
Sure.
I think I've gotten better at. Actually, I think there was downsides to that.
Okay.
Healing, marks. Yeah, we have our girlfriend has a son, so hey, go stand over here and throw doubles and triples and get distance, further than what I could throw from the dog, things like that. But a lot of planning, I think, is key, because I work kind of in the corporate healthcare world, so I look at my schedule really and just block off time. I mean, it literally has to go to if I'm going to train, I have to block time on my calendar to do it.
Yeah.
So, and then a lot of long weekends or Fridays off. And I don't know, you've seen me here at 10 a.m. and I'm like, yeah, I left Illinois at 2 a.m. to come here on a Friday. And now I can train Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, get home.
Absolutely.
So, and then, luckily knowing Jay, got a wealth of knowledge. He's about an hour and 15 minutes from me. So I can go to work early, dip out of work around 4, pick up dogs, be there at 5:30 and get 2.5 hours of training in. But then that doesn't put me home till 9 o'clock.
Sure.
So, I guess the other thing is just you don't sleep and you have a lot of caffeine.
So, a couple things to unpack there. First and foremost, it sounds like you have a slightly more flexible schedule than some. You do have a little bit of wiggle room where you can block some time off or take an extra day here or there, but
yeah, I don't punch a clock.
Okay.
All right. Right. But there's other days, like last week, I think I left the office past 7, 3 days,
Absolutely.
Monday through Thursday. So there's that balance. So,
absolutely.
or, hey, yeah, I'm going to dip out, but that might mean I got to work the weekends the next weekend to get caught up, or yeah, I got to work this weekend. So I'm going to the office on a Sunday afternoon because I'm going to be gone Friday, and it's just a balance.
Well, it's one of those things too that we hear on a regular basis that what you've just explained is not doable. So The example of, I talk to people that are trying to train their dog themselves, and they lack the resources, whether that be access to birds or access to ground or access to people to help them. And I say, well, let's go ahead and take a look at AKC clubs. Where is the closest club to you? Let's go ahead and look at the NAVHDA chapters and say, where is the closest NAVHDA chapter to you? And people will say things like, that one, yeah, that's 3 hours away. I don't know if we can make that work. And I'm like, wait a second, 3 hours away. That just means that you get up and you're on the road by 4:30, and then you're there for the morning training on Saturday. Like that, in my mind, that is the way that looks.
It's what I do.
Yes.
I mean, the other person I would have to call out going back a little bit is Lily's breeder has been great, especially with Lily of, hey, do you need pigeons? Or, hey, I got birds. Do you want to come train? He owns ground, things like that. So there were other people besides Jay, but you kind of found this network. And actually a guy named Tim Matarkowski, he had gotten a dog. He's one of the guys in the field, but he had a young dog that Jay had trained. So we kind of had partnered up and kind of put through dogs and through that first wave of going utility and the invitational and things like that. So you find people, you drive. I think I got a new truck a year and a half ago. I think I had it like 2 years and it had 67,000 miles on it. I've had this 18 months, the trimmer, and it's got 40,000.
Goodness.
So
you put miles on.
Got to.
Yeah.
But if you want to, I mean, my thing is if you're going to, you owe it to the dog, or I feel like I did. And I would honestly tell you, the first dog I lucked into good genetics.
Sure.
Right now, I would say Chief and Rye and Ty, that was very much intentional what I got there. But also I could see this dog had it. She's super, you know her.
Oh,
super,
absolutely.
Super cooperative, wants to please, just like a joy to be around. And I was like, she has this. We are going to do this. If she doesn't do it, it's because of me. And I had to take complete ownership of it to make sure that happened.
Yeah, we actually partnered on a breeding and bred Lily to Vex, which is Taylor. If you've looked on our page or followed any of the things, you've probably seen Taylor at some point in time. She is a Lily Vex puppy, and you can see the really good characteristics that come from both sides of that card. So one other thing that I want to kind of touch on that you mentioned, you used the term intentional, and this is something that I coach people to do on a regular basis. You do have to have a plan. You can't say, we're just going training today. Well, what are we doing? Training. We'll figure it out when we get there. No, we have specific things that dogs need to work on, especially if you have goals. Timelines are dog trainers' worst enemies, and also can be best friends in a sense, because it does put some level of urgency in a sense that, we have to get up early and go do it. We can't just blow this weekend off because we do have an event coming up. But one thing that I feel like happens for the average person with a dog at home is they do what they can do, not what they need to do. And that falls back into that intentional category. You got to go, we're prepping for X, right?
Yep.
Whether it's a utility test or even the upcoming hunting season. What can we do? Well, we can go down 2 blocks or 2 houses down and we can throw bumpers at the park. But what do we need to do? We need to work on our steadiness, because that's where we're weak. Or we need to work on our duck search. Or we need to work on some marks in water. Well, there's no water at the park 2 houses down. So we have to plan that. We have to make it happen. It's almost better a lot of times for you to say, we're going to give the dog a day off so that we can get the extra things done around the house or the extra whatever, so that we have time on Saturday to do what we need for that dog.
Yeah, I think people fall into a trap where if your dog's steady and retrieving, if you're going to a training day, maybe you don't need to go kill birds. Maybe that's not what you need to do. I'll relate to Lily. A lot of good things. I would think her duck search and utility was kind of hit or miss.
Sure.
But
generally goes hand in hand with a really cooperative dog.
Yep. And super steady, naturally steady,
Yes.
I would say. The other thing is backing.
Okay.
And you see that probably in Taylor a little bit. I see it in Rye at times. So it wasn't the sexiest thing, but I might go drive 2 hours for 10 minutes of backing work.
Yeah.
And be done. And that's fine.
And it's so hard to wrap your head around all of the time commitment, because I see this too. I mean, people think, oh, we're pros or we have access to all the things. And for years and years and years, we had to travel upwards of 4 hours one way on average to get to duck search water that would actually be beneficial from a training standpoint that we had access to. You know, I call about some other ponds that look good and we don't want you out there. Or, we've got something else lined up, or whatever the reason may be. But we did have access to duck search water that was 4 hours away. And what we had to do was make that commitment. We're going to go there to work on that. And an individual dog's training session might be 20 to 30 minutes. And that's all they can do, because you can't go, well, we're here. We're going to do 12 duck searches today and make up for the last month.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think over time, you know, especially when I was new, it was, they did it great 2 times. Why are you going to press the luck on the third?
Sure.
Because you can actually the third time's a train wreck, and then you might spend an extra hour there. So I would say sometimes less is more, or at least in my experience and how I've approached this. But I don't know. I would say it also took, to do this, you got to be resilient, because you will fail. You fail as a professional trainer, right? Everyone fails. Mm-hmm. You learn from the failures and you move on, and every dog's different.
Absolutely.
I mean, I got the second dog, Chief, that you also know as well, who is a lovable, I wouldn't say monster. He is a high drive, big, good looking, but will give you the middle finger with a smile type of attitude. But I think what was beneficial for me is, you know, both dogs, Lily and Chief, are complete opposite dogs. And what I had to learn, what worked for Lily, or what I needed to focus on with Lily, was not what I needed to focus on with Chief.
Yeah.
2 different things. Natural back, Chief's natural backer, like Shooter, I think was. Mm-hmm. Shooter, Nick, I think his maternal grandma's Nick's.
So I've got his pedigree pulled up right here. Am I missing any title? He's a Master Hunter Natural Ability 1 UT1, right?
Yeah. If I ever had the paper in the move, I lost his Master Hunter Advanced paperwork. Like I think he's got like,
so he
one
is a
more
Master Hunter Advanced.
Well,
needs one.
Yeah, because you know you got to fill out the stupid paperwork and all that. So I think he needs 1 or 2, but well, I think I need 1 or 2, but I think he actually should be done by now. But
I'm not going to poke the title. I'm going to poke AKC. Provide us something else, and then require us to track it and fill the paperwork out ourselves. That's not a fair.
They just want our money.
Shake. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but you do have to fill all those pieces out. Now, you were asking, so to break down his pedigree, your second dog, right?
Yep.
All
Chief was second dog.
Yep. Is a shooter, and then Aspen Hills Rising Star. What was her call name?
Molly.
And Molly is out of Nick's and Joe.
Yep.
Joe is a Master Hunter. I did some training. These dogs, you actually got Chief from Jeremy Steinley.
Yeah, so that's a funny story how that happened a little bit. When Lily was at Jay's, there was this dog named Archer. Archer was big, just beautiful, great water drive. And I was like, I want one of those. So I go, you know, I knew enough to go look, well, who's he out of? Standing Stones. Shooter's name is
Gun for Hire.
Gun for Hire, yeah. So I call you and I'm like, hey, I'm doing these things. And you're like, well, that's great. It's going to be a 2-year wait. I was like, well, I'm going to show you. No, it was pleasant. But you actually told me, hey, he's having a litter up there. You should call Jeremy. So I called Jeremy, which actually ended up working. Archer was an Aspen Hill dog as well.
Yep.
So that same thing. Right? I was like, all right, perfect. So I said, okay. Want first pick male? Well, he's like, well, Molly's owner was going to take first pick male. And then at some point he called me. So we actually went up there, Jay and I, tested the litter, and I came back with Chief. I think I was like, he was born May 6th of 18. So Lily was a year and a half. So I just was really starting to do utility stuff with Lily at the time.
And that's not a bad time to get a puppy. You're kind of almost completely out of the puppy zone with the older dog, and then bring a new one into the mix.
Yeah, and the reality is Lily was just easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that I can only aspire to have another Lily from a house dog and like is not going to cause trouble, wants to do the right thing at all times. So if I would have had Chief as a puppy at first, I probably would have waited a little longer.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned went up and tested the litter. Walk us through that process. Because I think I know, but I want to hear. Yeah,
there's different thoughts on it, but it's basically dog psychology. I think it's Volderhards, or it is not an aptitude test. It is really Volhards, I think, VOLHARDS, puppy aptitude test.
VOLHARD, Volhard, puppy aptitude test. So we'll put there's a whole PDF here that you can walk through this process, but have you done that? Did you end up doing that with Lily, or is that a different situation? I know.
So Jay had actually tested the litter.
Okay.
So when I got Lily, I went to Jay's and we redid the test. Now I tell you the validity of that, they say between, I think 7 weeks is like the recommended. And at that point, Lily was probably 8.5 weeks.
Sure.
So, but every puppy I've got, even Rye, who's out of Lily that we had at our house and whelped and raised, I went out, but, because I think that the one thing is that I have Jay or another friend who knows the test. Mm-hmm. They're unbiased. So I don't want to have my bias and like, oh, that dog looks good. Is that,
Yeah, I think that pretty one, it looked fine in this part of it or whatever.
Yeah. So, you can go through, but there's everything from elevation to sight and sound sensitivity to, testing. As much as you can, retrieving drive, tray drive, things like that. There's a scoring system and there's explanations of like what 1s and 2s versus 3s and 4s. I think it's a 1 to 6 scale. Mm-hmm. My opinion on that after seeing this, knowing you guys, Charles, is really good intentional breeders probably know the outcome before. I think there are a lot of people who are completely surprised or act shocked and haven't paid attention to that.
Sure.
So for me, not interacting with a litter for 8 weeks and then coming and get a dog, I would take your word, but I'd also try to say, okay, does that line up? So that's how we've used it.
I know the personalities of the two dogs are very different. Do you remember how they scored? Was it accurate to how they turned out, I guess?
So they're puppies. You're not hurting them, but one of them is a pressure sensitivity.
Sure.
Where you pinch in between.
Pinch their toes.
Yeah, their toes. And then you score based upon how long till you get a reaction. Chief, we cranked on him and you just quit because the 10 seconds was up. So like
he showed no reaction of pinching.
And so where does that come across?
Yeah.
You've seen him. He can be a double collar dog.
Yeah, he's tough.
He's just physically tough
and
mentally tough.
Mentally and physically tough. Yeah.
So I think there are good things with that. But yeah, a lot of the things, you don't do what they've done and not have a lot of the common traits, whether retrieve big on, especially in NAVHDA, retrieve's big.
Absolutely.
So
it's a huge part of that utility test.
Yeah. And we can talk about AKC and that it's not as big of a deal. I don't think it's kind of a joke in my opinion.
There's a lot more flexibility in it for sure.
A lot more coaxing of the dog. How can you keep calling your dog and that's supposedly a master hunter dog? And, there's things like following, Chief's more likely to not want to fall. He wants to do his own thing a little bit at times so there were commonalities in the test. I think we usually want to score between 30 and 33 is kind of the sweet spot. And what Jay's experience, my experience is they can be very different dogs, but you can still end up at the same outcome.
Yeah, you can see, and to your point, yes, we do a lot of evaluations with our puppies through development, and we do know who is the one that's full of piss and vinegar, and who's the one that's tough, and who's the one that's wimpy, and who's the one that, when stuff gets inevitably, a bowl gets dropped at the kennel or whatever, you will see some dogs react differently to that and take a little longer time to recover. And realistically, what you're talking about is kind of the middle of the road. You need dogs that have feelings, but at the same time are bold and confident. If you fall onto the low end of the spectrum, they get spooked by stuff and they don't recover well. That is not something that comes out of any of the dogs at our program, or almost never. And that's going to be a dog that's going to fall into a zone that could potentially, it needs to be treated differently.
Yep.
It needs to be brought around properly. And we don't actually follow this testing system. We have done it with litters to evaluate, and we're like, wow, there are no surprises here. To your point, like, we know exactly what we're looking at because we spend so much time. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, this is the first day that you're getting to ever see these puppies. My only pushback to anybody that would say, oh, I need to look this up and then challenge my breeder to say, I need to go do this with the puppies is, are you catching them at a time where they just took a nap, or they need to take a nap, or have just played for however long? So there's a lot of variables in that category too.
Yeah, redo the test. I mean, one of the things is even test is supposed to conduct it in a place that they've never been.
Correct.
Now, that could be here at your house. That could be in the garage of your house where they've never been.
Move them to a new area.
I would also say you are a little unique in this situation because, let alone, Kat and you have a whole team who's interacting with puppies. So you get way more opinions than the average person would.
Absolutely.
And the reality is those puppies are getting a lot more human interaction than most could give. Yeah. And that's not a fault of other breeders. It's just the reality of the situation.
There's only so much time in a day. Yeah. And we used to fall in that category. You just used to be just Kat and I, but those puppies even were raised in our house. So in that spectrum of making sure there was enough time every evening, every morning when we weren't actively working in the kennel, we're with those dogs on top of just the care of them throughout the day. So it's very interesting. What I would like to do here is talk Chief's training level. So, and we kind of broke off of Lily a little bit there too. She is now a versatile champion. Let's go ahead and let's go all the way back to that. I want to go through, you said she got a prize won in
2019.
So
then you had COVID year.
And how many times did she run? I want to look at that too, because this is a thing that I feel like people get worked up about.
I think it was the fourth try that she became a UT1, if I'm remembering right. And now I would tell you, she ran with Jay once. I think the next year I ran her 3 times in 2 months and learned on the fly. Because sometimes, as I said, the best way to learn is fail. So I think I ran her in Sioux Falls once, then Wisconsin River another time, and then passed her again in Wisconsin River.
Even that, the Sioux Falls drive, that's quite a jaunt for you to go test.
8-9 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, Wisconsin River was probably 4.5, 5.
Help me with her registered.
Reynolds Lillian Rose.
That's what I thought. I had Lily Rose. Lillian Rose, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Lilian.
Had an extra L. Okay, so loading. It's pretty incredible that their registry is all open, that you can view all of these things, but open link. All right, so here is all of the testing history. She actually no-prized her natural ability test.
Pointing.
Yeah. And is a versatile champion. Okay. Listen to that again, folks. She no-prized as a puppy.
Yep.
Because she didn't point, and is now a Master Hunter Advanced, which involves a lot of steadiness and a lot of pointing. Utility prize 1 dog multiple times and passed the invitational.
Yeah. Being the first time owner, if I was to go back and do it over, the thing I really probably kind of lacked is I should have had more bird introduction as a puppy.
Sure.
And I think that now, look at her first invite. I'll tell you, she had qualifying or passing scores in everything besides pointing. That's why she failed her first invite.
What did she do?
I think she blew it back. I had to stop her, let dogs loose, and she didn't rip a bird, but they said, she should have flushed a bird. In Iowa, it gets goofy sometimes in these tests. It gets,
does.
Scenting conditions change cloud cover. I mean, it can change within 30 minutes where, you see that probably out here where dogs are finding birds left and right, and then no one can find a bird to save their lives.
And this was quite a few years ago, but do you remember how many bird contacts she actually had between pointing opportunities versus?
I think she bumped that bird, and we only had she did get 1 point, no other bird contacts.
Yeah.
So that's one where if I could have found more birds, we probably could have bumped the score up. Yeah. And so that was the game, but we just couldn't find it. And I think her brace mate maybe found 2,
so
3.
She pointed 1, ripped 1.
Yeah.
And that's all they've got to go off of.
Yep. That's all you got. And they're not going to, they want dogs to succeed, but they're also not going to, throw down 3 birds.
Yeah. We're not going to just put one like, oh, hey, can you find this one? We just sat here. Yeah. That's a puppy thing.
But then on the reverse, she blew a back, but then she had 2 great backs, got a 3 in backing.
Yeah.
So,
exact situation. Like,
So
she only got 1 opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So maybe there's something there with the pointing and natural ability still, or I don't know.
Sounds like she had a tough day.
Yeah. Weird things happen at these tests.
Absolutely, they do. And we don't fall into any different zone. Nick's actually went out in the field for the same issue. He pointed a bird, handled it clean, ran up over the hill, caught one, brought it back. It's like, wait a second, we can't see anything, but after the 5th one of those that he did, you have to assume that they weren't all dead or something. No, he's just catching birds when he thinks he can get away with it, which he obviously was getting away with it. So anything, and that again is a dog that's a master hunter, which falls into a zone of a lot of obedience and a lot of pointing and a lot of backing and, all of those kind of things. So it's what I want people to hear from this is don't be discouraged for a bad day. And you are going to fail, which is what you said before. You are going to struggle, whether it's completely fail or just not get the score that you were ultimately hoping or know that your dog is capable of. And you got to put in the time and you got to try again. I mean, you got to put the effort in to do it.
Well, the other thing I would also say now, kind of thinking or talking this through with you, everyone I would tell you has some type of kennel blindness or their dog doesn't have faults.
Sure.
Being brutally honest about your dog will actually make you a more efficient trainer, whether that's time or the things you work on. Like I could oh, that wasn't her fault, but I think if you're honest about your dog, you can actually structure your training program in a way that gets you to that end goal, maybe in a shorter time too.
Yeah, I like that. So this will be able to be anybody that's listening or watching via YouTube, be able to see the entire breakdown. You ran her a handful of times, some really close prize 2s, which it looks like it was something water related.
Duck
I don't
search.
know. Yeah. Okay.
Duck search. Yeah.
That might be that first number.
Yeah. It was duck search is what got her those first 2 times. And then it clicked, and what's funny is I knew
with a freaking 204. It clicked.
Yeah. Well, it clicked, but her first UT prize, she was kind of giving me the middle finger in the field. She had that extra edge to her.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, we might have something here today. Cause I knew that would translate to the water, and it did.
Well, let's go ahead and move into, I want to move into Chief now. We jumped around a little bit. You got him from Jeremy Steinley, Aspen Hill Gun Dogs. He's a shooter puppy. You ran him through everything. You did all of his training.
At that point, I was doing everything. So I think the first time I had ran Lily in utility, I also ran Chief in NA.
Got it. I'm going to pull him up here. Okay. So I've got him pulling up here. We have had our website up as well, but he's the shooter Molly puppy. And then if we look at his testing results, all right, so he ran natural ability at 12 months old and did really well.
Best score, 3 in cooperation,
which is very accurate for him as a whole.
I mean, people are like, oh, NA, there are truths that will hold throughout that dog's lifetime in that test. I firmly believe that.
Yeah. So it's a very common thought process that people see a 112 as the maximum points and will say that's a perfect score because you can only get 112 points, which They don't like that terminology because there's no such thing as perfect dogs and
Yeah.
perfect runs, which I agree with. But you're saying a 110, which is not 112, is a perfect score because you got a 3 in co-op, meaning the dog has some grit and some oomph, and that shows pretty true to dogs that will excel in the next levels as they go.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bird, right? So stood, bird flushed, flew forever. He broke and was gone for like 5 minutes, just chasing and running and going. And we got him back and found another couple birds and actually hunted for me and even scooped up one of the birds, but still worked out. And so Lily passed utility in 19.
Mm-hmm.
You had COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, 21 was going to be in Iowa. Living in Illinois, Iowa, Hawkeye's like 4.5 hours from my house. I was like, I'm going to press because I'm getting one dog. I'll be getting one dog ready for the invite. Especially for me, it's easier. If I'm going to run multiple dogs in something, it's like, it's not the biggest time commitment I have is driving.
Sure.
So I was like, all right, we're going to go and do this. And first test, I think they missed like the gunners missed like the first 4 or 5 birds.
Oof. That's tough. It's tough from a gunning standpoint because you get in your head a little bit too. But it's also tough when you have a competitive dog who wants to go get birds and none of the birds are dying, which is a big part of why we prepare for that in training. And though it's not always a perfect system, it does help for the dogs to be prepared for birds that are missed. And I think it's something that's pretty heavily overlooked because it's not the sexy stuff. You know, I like shooting them and killing them, and then the dog gets to retrieve, and we put it all together. And it's just the fact of the matter is it's not always the reality. Stuff happens out there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say every time they missed a bird, you could just see a search going further and further. Like the ears were closing off, and yeah, like he was like, "I'm gonna show you guys." So, didn't pass his first, I think he was a prize 2 or 3. 3 probably. Does it say?
These
would have been 2020 utility test.
I don't understand how these move in different orders. 8, 9, 20, 20. Yeah. Yep. He got a prize 3.
Prize 3.
And struggled in the field.
Yeah, on his search.
Because he was not searching productively at the point where he wasn't hunting with you anymore.
Yeah, he was overly searching.
Yes.
Which he was searching for himself.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. How long did he spend out of sight? Any period of time?
No, it was a pretty wide open field, kind of on the side of a hill. So, you know, as you worked, we always saw him, but I mean, is he really hunting for you if he's 400 yards away?
You were just chasing him.
Yeah, we were chasing, you know, so, I mean, and then regrouped, I don't know, it was probably less than a month later, went up to Sioux Falls and passed him. I think he was 2 and 3 months.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that, and this is something that we try and explain to people again, it is an example of what happened that day, which does not always depict exactly what the dog is or their full potential. You did run 8:22. So you're talking about 13 days later.
Oh, it was 2 weeks later?
It's 2 weeks later.
Okay.
You got a 197 and a prize 1. So, which gave you the opportunity to go to the Invitational in 21. And you struggled a little bit with some, I'm assuming, the blind?
Yeah, he's infamous. If you were at the 21 invite at up in Iowa, he was the dog at the blind that went halfway, took a hard left main channel, and I picked him up over a mile down. I mean, canoe and all. Had to canoe, picked him up finally caught up to him after 30 minutes and got him. And Jeremy actually drove around to the other side of that lake, which is like probably a 10-minute, it's a pretty big lake.
Yeah.
Picked us up. So I had 2 invite flunkies my first go at it.
Well, you have more invitational passes than I do. So it's a big part of just understanding that the entire thing is a process. You came back in 22 to requalify and ran twice. Got a prize 2 with an extremely high prize 2.
Yeah, he
broke at the blind at the
healing.
Mark. Oh,
healing 6. Yeah, he was probably the best test day he's ever had. Like he was just hunting for me, listening, doing everything.
Yeah.
It was still, I think that was the last year of feeling sticks, maybe the year after, and he went around 2 of them.
Again.
And just dumb. That's dumb.
2 weeks later, got a prize one.
Yeah, I would say with him, he is probably the best natural from a genetic standpoint. He's just always at it.
Yeah.
Like if he fails, it's because it wasn't that he didn't know or lacked ability or skill. It's just he
decided not to. And then in 23 went again. What did you struggle?
Yeah, that blind again.
It was the blind.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he had passing or, he
I
had
see it here.
scores.
You got a 0 in the blind. Oof.
Yeah.
Because he didn't even try it, they said. Well,
he tried. I mean,
Yeah.
he even went, if you really want to go, he got within 20 yards of the opposite shore and then was like, oh, forget. I know I'll come back here. I'll go duck search.
So struggling with the blind, and it comes down to he excelled at duck search, which is independent.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to get into other things or try, what are more opportunities? So I probably actually did something wrong knowing now. I field trialed him.
Okay.
Walking field trials, which I would say encouraged
More independence.
over. Yeah. I thought I was like, thinking Lily, I want more independence without probably even appreciating that I already had too much independence. And I probably doing that only promoted some bad habits.
I understand. You've got him now. He ran in June, got a prize one, and is qualified for the 25 Invitational.
Third time. This is
It's his last chance.
Last dance.
I understand that too. But you have another dog that is qualified. This would be dog number 3 for you.
Rye. So Taylor's half sister.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, after Lily at that time was going to be close to 5 after the Invitational because of the COVID year. Knew I wanted a puppy out of her, and actually the first litter with Archer, that dog I had mentioned earlier, Chief's half brother, had a litter of puppies. I kept Rye, and I think she I don't know when she passed last year. She would have been like 2 and 3 or 4 months.
You've got here Archer is a shooter, and then Haley.
Yeah,
Dog.
Goes back. People probably know
Shooting Star.
Shooting Star. Yeah, a lot of Shooting Star. Thunderhead. There's some Red Stag, which I think was out of Canada. But a lot of Archer, a lot of VCs even on that side.
Absolutely. We did a Maggie. Anybody that remembers Maggie? That was a Callie's first breeding, and we bred her to Thunderhead's Rowdy Rudy, and his name was Rowdy. I believe it's Rowdy Rudy. So it's Maggie was a Callie Rowdy puppy.
Yeah, and Charles's dog Breezy,
Just
I think,
Thunderhead
is at
Kennels,
out of Thunderhead stuff too, right? The bottom side.
Breezy's out of Maggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got Lily in here again. Let's pull up this. She's obviously younger, but I feel that your training has probably also improved, or your process, because you're doing a more consistent job at getting better scores faster.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think I've UT'd 4 of the 5 last tests, or 4 of the last 6. Something like that.
That's awesome.
Not that means anything, but yeah, I would say I become more efficient. Ran her. She didn't get an NA. I think she got an NA prize 3.
Yeah, 3. She struggled a little bit searching as a young puppy.
So here's where that relates. So last puppy was Chief. I was overboard on cooperation and not dealing with what I had. And though I said be honest about your dog, but as you evolve, you truly got to treat every dog differently. So I probably
100%.
overreacted there. But then the next year I was going to run her in utility. She was going to run masters, and she got a foreign body. I remember calling you and freaking out, and you're like, calm down. But at 1.5 years, I think she's supposed to test, I picked her up from the University of Illinois vet. She's in the ICU, cardiothoracic surgery, on a Friday, and she was supposed to run a test that Saturday. So within a week of her needing to run a test, lethargic, it's like, oh, maybe she's just tired, or maybe, stomach bug. But then when it get out the kennel, wasn't eating, called you, was like, she's having a little difficulty breathing, took her to the emergency vet, and yeah, they had to aspirate her there.
Goodness. I remember that. It's a scary deal. We've had a number of different situations, especially before we truly learned kind of the how and whys it happens. But there is such a thing as mean seeds. It's the awn, or the portion that carries the seed on specific types of primarily warm season grasses and different things of that nature. Rye.
Yeah. Probably bad name, right? Bad name.
Is actually one of the worst ones. There's several different. Yeah, foxtail is one of them. There's several different species of it, but if you ever grab in the summertime as stuff starts to dry down, that later, depending on where you're at, climate and everything else, June to August in this zone can be kind of the hot spots. And we've spent the last, since almost 8 full years, working through cleaning fields so that our actual training grounds are very, very safe. And we also know some of the areas that are not they have a larger percentage of mean seeds or things of that nature that we stay out of. And then when we do free runs, we actually found these, I refer to them as hostage masks, but they are a outfox mask is the name of the product. They're available at standingstonesupply.com. And I'm going to pull up what they look like here. It's just a black mesh bag, basically, that goes over the dog's head. And we found that they can come off. It takes them about, give or take 30 seconds to figure them out, especially if you just put them on and go. But you can see it's just a big, heavy mesh bag, goes over the head. When we do free runs being the biggest category of they're covering the most ground, they're getting essentially the warmest, if you will, depending on the situation. They're running harder, they're working harder. And they've got they open that airway up to where it's more prone to being able to pull in different types of things. Now, when we're talking about mean seeds, we're also, we have Indian grass in some of the areas out here. And Indian grass it doesn't fall into that same category. There is no barbs on the awn. It's all soft, fluffy stuff. And so I never thought of it as a risk.
Yep.
But what we came into was areas that were so overgrown with Indian grass, and it's dropping. Anybody that's ever hunted cattails, when you walk through that in the fall and it's these cattail explosions everywhere and you get to where you can't breathe because you're just inhaling. Well, the seeds are slightly larger on this Indian grass, and that's what ended up being an issue with Vex. I think they ended up pulling 13 Indian grass seeds out of his sidewall. They were working their way out. He had inhaled them. We had kept him on antibiotics long enough that they were trying to migrate / be forced out by his body. And they found them in his sidewall. And that's where they removed everything from. They didn't even have to remove lung tissue or anything else. They did crack his chest to get to them, but they were all in the sidewall of his chest cavity.
So Vex had all 5 lung lobes still?
Yeah, he didn't lose any lung tissue. The Muddy lost 2 lobes. Nix lost 1 lobe. How many, Rye lose 1?
One. Yeah, I forget which side. One's 3. There's 3 on one side, 2 on the other side.
And what they told us with Muddy, what they told us with all the dogs, they may never hunt again, which obviously is not the case. But what we are seeing is the aftermath of this process is not that they won't ever hunt again. They learn to adjust and they figure it out. And I do see with Muddy that she kind of hits a wall where she's fine. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I don't have enough additional oxygen, and it just kind of cuts off. And now that they're older, both Nix and Muddy have congestive heart failure, which comes to lack of pressure in the chest cavity, essentially allowing the heart to grow in size. So I would assume you have that to look forward to, which it's quite a few years down the road, but also both Muddy and Nix, we've been able to balance that really well with, the basic medication treatment, and even a light-ish dose in the medication treatment for that.
Like Lasix to get water?
It's Lasix to help remove fluids, and then there are 2 other things, and I don't know off of the top of my head. I can put that in here, but Lasix is one of the things, yes. So it created new problems with having to all the time and everything else. So
yeah, I guess I was just fortunate. She was young, 18 months, obviously in shape. She was getting trained to run utility. I think now we did it sparingly. I didn't overdo it. I think she had surgery in early August, and by late October was out hunting.
Wow. Yeah.
In North Dakota. She went on the North Dakota trip with us. Now I did not, very intentional. It was maybe out an hour, 90 minutes a day. She wasn't going to be running all day.
Well, it's that 8 weeks category of rest is what they say they need for the bones to completely reheal. Because what they're actually doing is, I believe it's referred to as a median sternotomy. They break or cut through the chest here, spread it open, and dig around and find what they need to, and cut out what doesn't need to be there anymore.
I mean, they're not working on the heart, but it's the same thing they do for open heart surgery. They crack your sternum.
And then they actually wire it back shut. So Nix has had an x-ray for something, both Nix and Muddy. Muddy ended up with, at one point in time, she had some like pneumonia. So they did an x-ray of her chest, and you can see the wire through the chest right at the sternum, right where it wraps around. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. We're east of the Mississippi, and foreign body's not a thing there.
Really?
You don't, I
don't
know,
see it to the extent.
No, well, I've never heard of anyone who only stays or trains there in Illinois or that direction. Never had, it was a foreign thing. I only knew you and Charles of having it. Now, training, I think I know where I probably picked it up at, and that was probably
Iowa.
West Iowa.
Yeah. Iowa. Unfortunately, those fields are insanely loaded with rye. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Now, I would tell you for the invite, I know they do a week or two before they go out and attack everything they can find, and people spend hours and do everything they can. But, we were training there at where the invite fields were at. Correct. And you correlated out. It was about 2 weeks later is when this happened. So it is what it is. It's one of the things that happened. If you're going to get into this, I would say try to have money available, because I think that was total $10,000.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, and luckily, I was fortunate enough to be able to afford it. But they are not compassionate is probably the wrong word. But if you can't pay, you're not going to get the surgery done. They want that you pay in advance. Yes,
that is it, and very large deposits before they'll even move forward with anything.
Oh, I think it was put here. We need 5,000 now, and then you see a range, and it can be 9,000 to 20,000
or something wild.
Yeah, something wild depending on what they do, how long the ICU stay. because they're in the dog ICU.
Yes,
for a period of time.
Somebody might have been Nick. Somebody we had was there for the longest period of time was almost 10 days post-surgery, because they're waiting for they have a drain tube needs to be removed before they go home. Somebody else was done in like a day, 2 days. I don't know. We've had a bunch of them, which is, again, they kind of all blurred together, but it was very quick after. I was like, whoa, they're going home already? Well, that's good, but still, are you sure?
I think Charles said like some of them are doing, like they can do it laparoscopically where they don't.
I have seen that.
I've heard that. So I would assume, just like humans, that would be the recovery time would be a lot shorter, because you're not cracking up they're literally separating their chest to get access.
So if you have bird dogs, folks, injuries are going to happen, and on all kinds of levels. We've seen things from dogs stabbing themselves. One dog came out of a slough, found some old chunk of something, cut their armpit area completely wide open. We've got porcupines. We've got, barbed wire is a very common thing that you run into, and it can be anything from, I've seen a dog almost completely gutted from a chunk, hooked and ripped, and just bad, to just little cuts and whatever. We had a dog that ended up with some prostate, some urinary tract issues with stones and things of that nature, that was here at the kennel. And it was, they ended up, we do what's best for the dogs, and ultimately the dog ended up having to go home and go to university situation up there for them, and he would be a great account for having pet insurance. So if it is something that you are thinking through and go, maybe a few $1,000s or $10,000 of a whack is not something I could probably do, but I don't want to have to make that decision. I know that pet insurance would be something that could be a better way to look at. And there's a lot of really good options for it out there now. So
yeah, I'm not familiar with pet insurance. I don't have pet insurance. I just have money stashed away in account and investments.
You self-insure.
Yeah, I'm going to put money in the market, and if we have to take money out of the market, then we'll do that to do what's right for the dog.
Yeah, and from us standpoint, we also self-insure. Just the annual premiums for the dogs that we own for 1 year would be more than what we've paid out over the years. It's wild. I do think that it is more affordable if you have a single dog versus a larger number, but it is still something that you should definitely look into. We don't have information on specifics. I know AKC has one. I know that there are other options. Definitely do some research, read the fine print, see what is excluded. But so far, I know that with this dog's name was Winter's situation, a good portion of that, there was a limit on the top end, but a huge portion of all of his medical expenses were covered. So by the pet insurance situation. So it's definitely something to consider when having bird dogs.
Yeah, and what I would tell people is usually they're going to be expensive. Go to your university vets.
Yeah,
like they are going to have.
Do it right.
I mean, like Rye had like a surgery team, right? Like they had like multiple trained physicians who had specialties probably in the heart and the lungs. And I mean, the level of care there was excellent. And I knew that was the place that could do best by her.
And if you are in that zone, it's hard to know, it's hard to make that decision, but the faster you get there, the better, because if you bounce from your local vet to the emergency vet to the university, you're going to have a few $1,000s wrapped up in not really knowing what's going on or having answers. So not to scare people and say, your dog's coughed, take them to the university. But it is still a thing. If you truly feel like there's an issue, that is the direction that you should head. If there is a vet-based university within a reasonable driving distance, which I think almost every state in the Midwest has some program.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of being in the Midwest. Usually
Correct.
The best vet schools in the world are located at each of these Midwest states, whether it's Wisconsin, Illinois. You probably go mostly to Kansas State, I would assume.
K-State. Yep.
Iowa State is a really good one. University of Wisconsin. So, and they're going to be familiar with it.
Yes, they're starting to get more familiar for sure, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They know what's going on. I think in the past, a lot of dogs just died and nobody really knew why the dog died. It was a bird dog died. And it just, the more occurrence and people advocating for the dogs helps to know what's going on and kind of how to work through it.
Yeah, and I remember when we were talking about this, you guys learned the hard way the first time, right?
Yeah. Shooter 1. Don't reuse names. It's not a great idea. Shooter 1 did die, and it was that exact situation. We bounced from a local vet to an emergency vet we didn't go to the university. We went to a Blue Pearl facility, which is a similar kind of concept with an even heightened price tag on that. And I think we had close to what you're talking about in him not ultimately making it. And that was a time and point that I signed up for the care credit card, which is there, and I'm trying to make the right decisions. It was not optimal. So,
Yep. But luckily,
optimal.
Yeah, we've survived that. No more of that.
Well, let's go ahead and jump back to this. We took a little turn there in a good direction and a bad direction all at the same time, but good, interesting information. You've got both Chief and Rye qualified for 2025.
Yeah, I'm probably counting. I don't know. Tomorrow might be 7 weeks or 8 weeks is the invite.
Yes.
Yep. So
getting close. How are things going with that?
I mean, I've said for years, I could not train all year and he could go out there and do it, or I mean,
Or not.
he's got every skill. So really,
Sure.
I would say for him, it's keeping him hungry. Blinds have actually, we did blinds here.
Yeah.
He smoked them. We haven't had any drag out wars, I would call him, at the blind site where he wants to fight me in duck search. So we're doing it. I would honestly say I've intentionally did less this year.
Sure.
More than ever, just with him. And then Rye's just cooperative. There's one thing I'm probably worried about most with Rye, and that's backing.
Yeah.
And you've seen it. We've worked on it. She needs one more pass to be a master hunter. So she has it in her. You've seen it where she'll blow off one and then go stick two. It's not natural.
And it's interesting because I feel like it's more natural than what you're letting on to. With what I've seen with her specifically, your issue ends up being more in a decision made out of greed than not having a natural backing instinct. So she says, I've backed, or I see the dog and I go, meh, I'm going to go ahead and go the other direction. But sometimes that's even after committing to the back and then leaving it, saying, I don't want to do it. Or if you get, and I don't know her 100%, but what I've seen, you go, if she's had to do it too many times, you start to see that category of frustration, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go find my own bird, which sounds similar-ish to what you explained with Lily a little bit in the backing category.
Yeah, or like in Master Hunter, she's pretty. You've seen her. She's gonna find birds. She's a wild bird dog. Like we're in a utility test here. I think she found like 8 or 9. You gunned for her, like lot. 8 or 9 in like 30 minutes.
A lot. So,
she also can, I would call, there's probably a better term, but gets bird drunk. So if she has 4 or 5 contacts and then has to go back. So it's almost like probably for her having a bird or 2 and then a back or 2 and kind of going back and forth will probably be best for her. But she's her mom's daughter, right? Or daughter of her mom. So everything else I think we have in the bag already and we'll continue to refine. So it'll be fun.
I like the thought process behind less being more. I do think that it's something that when you add structure, we've talked about this in the past, but short hairs fall into the versatile dog category, and versatile dogs are designed to be independent creatures. And though there is varying levels of cooperation built into that, they do want to do it for you. If they're ultimately not independent, they're not doing their job. And when you start to apply high levels of obedience and handle and expectations to an independent dog, sometimes you get some pushback and they say, you know what? I really don't want to go do that. And that pushback can end up leading ultimately to, it gets worse the more you fight it. So having those smaller pieces of not overdoing things, well, we need to work on backing. So let's do a backing drill every single day. And she hates it even more. And you continue to work the opposite direction of that and say, here's some fair opportunities and some good looks. And yes, and we can build off of good reps essentially.
Yeah. And I would say actually with birds, brace mate type of work, the last time we've done 2 days here, last time was like a month ago.
Yeah.
We actually killed birds over dogs. And, it's primarily been blind with some backing drills with Rye. That's what we've really worked on.
So 2 dogs testing in a very short period of time here at a very high level. And then you have 1 more dog.
Yeah. So have the Chief, the first batch is what I would call it of Chief Quest.
Absolutely.
So Ty is he's Ty the Tank. He's a gorgeous dog, well built. Both Chief and Quest are well built, and he inherited those genetics. NA prize 1, I think at 3 in the track, but he's got it. So we'll see. For me and what I do, I wish I could go to New Mexico and do these things. So sometimes I'm going to make my push in utility based upon where the test is the next year.
Sure.
And then I think I have Lucian's dog, the second batch of Chief Quest puppies, Cash. And I think I'm going to have a fun time. I think I'm going to try to run the brothers together.
Very cool.
So that'll be a fun, and Cash looks just like Chief. And so it's going to be a fun time, but we're focused on invite. Rye is 3, so she needs to have some puppies. So we'll see, but hopefully I'm not running 3 dogs next year in utility.
I understand. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. If there's one piece of advice as a non-professional who has tested dogs to extremely high levels, you could provide to another non-professional, I mean, what would that be? One, you can take a second to think, but one piece of advice to give people on trying to train their dogs at home.
Yeah, enjoy the process. So even in the worst, where you might have the worst day, you're going to be able to look back and take something away from that. And I think you have to be positive. You put too much time and effort and energy. And for me, this is my hobby, right? Like this, I sit at a desk or in meetings and board meetings all day, every day. I'm out here to have fun. So if you're not having fun, I think your dog picks up on that.
Sure.
And that will then go into the performance of that dog. So enjoy the process, and you just got to find the silver lining in things. So that would be my one piece of advice.
I like it. Thank you for your time today, bud. I appreciate you being here. And it's huge. If you aren't enjoying it, why are you doing it? But outside of that, folks, that is all the time that we've got for today. I hope that you found this conversation talking through a very accomplished non-professional dog trainer and how how you've made time for the dogs and made time for the things that you need to do.
Yep. And, thanks for your help. I still ask questions to people every day, and, Charles asks questions of me, and you're always learning, right? So I appreciate all the help you've given me, or advice, or different point of view time. So it's been a fun ride.
Absolutely, man. I'm the guy with the pink gun. We'll catch you in the next one.